There's a lot of head scratching at the moment about PCI version 4. There are some big roadblocks to achieving version 4, which a lot of companies are going to have to work out how they're going to handle. That's a big challenge for a lot of companies, and it's not a massive timeline to get it to move to version 4, and version 4 isn't backward compatible. So if you go to version 4, you're no longer able to be like a version 3.2.1 service provider if you're a service provider or a merchant. A lot of companies are sort of beginning to scratch their heads and think about how they're going to do that, and that's going to be a big piece of work. I suppose the fundamental, the sort of, if you think of it as an overarching thing, the fundamental thing is that they've almost made it less prescriptive. You can now, I mean, you always had the concept of compensating controls, which were controls you could put in place to compensate for something you couldn't necessarily do. But there's now this other concept of being able to demonstrate compliance without necessarily ticking the box in the PCI list of requirements. So there's a lot more flexibility in terms of how you achieve PCI compliance. So there's a lot more discretion, I guess, with the auditors about whether something meets the requirements or not than there was previously. It's a lot less prescriptive in some respects. It's probably moving a bit more towards like ISO. Whilst ISO is a framework and a standard, it's not that prescriptive. You know, it's risk-based. So it's, you know, there's nothing in ISO that says you must have a 15-character password with, you know, it doesn't go to that level of prescription. It just says, you know, you've got to ensure that your password policy is, you know, commensurate with the level of risk you've got, that you're protecting the data with those passwords.